said Fanny with a teasing smile. "You should play with us, Mr. Withrow. Maybe you would provide some actual competition."
Once again, I must decline.
Mary had met both Fanny Cramer and Henry Withrow at Castle Durrington in Worthing. After the death of Mary's father, she had stayed at Castle Durrington, where Lady Trafford and her nephew Mr. Withrow had trained her as a spy. At the castle, Fanny had pretended to be a maid, which was also the role she had volunteered to play in London. Fanny was perceptive, opinionated, and seemed unafraid of anything. She had always been kind to Mary and treated her as someone deserving of respect. Mr. Withrow, on the other hand, had often been dismissive of Mary. That had changed somewhat since Mary had exposed the murderer of Mr. Withrow's friend, but still he was a disagreeable man. At the moment he appeared downright sullen. "If you are not going to play with us, at least read a book, or do something to make your journey more pleasant," said Mary.
"I would if it were possible," he said. "One of my greatest regrets in life is that reading in a carriage leaves me indisposed."
It appeared that riding in a carriage, even without a book, left him indisposed. "Will you at least give us a theme?" said Fanny, leaning towards the window. Outside, thick billows of smoke rose from a factory. She grimaced. "There's a carriage following us." At this, Mr. Withrow went rigid. Mary shifted in her seat, unsure of what action to take in a situation like this. Did someone know who they were and their purpose in London? If the carriage were attacked, Mary would be of no use, but at least Mr. Withrow knew how to fight. He had once tackled and disarmed Mary, who had been brandishing a fire poker in a matter of seconds. Mr. Withrow peered out his own carriage window, then tapped a pattern of knocks on the carriage wall. The driver took a quick left turn. The wheels of the carriage slid on the ice, and Mary was pressed against the carriage wall. The carriage wobbled, almost tipped, but finally the wheels found surer purchase. Withrow strained his neck as he watched out the window, shook his head in frustration, then tapped again. "They are still following," said Fanny, her hands clenching into fists. As the carriage turned, Mary caught a glimpse of a black carriage with purple curtains behind them. The driver took another quick turn, almost running into another carriage, and then yet another turn. Mary glimpsed a face in the other carriage's window, a face she thought she recognised.
"It appears to be Stanley," said Withrow, shaking his head. "He should know better than to trail us without informing us in advance."
He tapped a different rhythm, and the carriage slowed and returned to the main road. Mr. Stanley was another spy who, like Mr. Withrow, was from Sussex. Mary had only met Mr. Stanley once before, which did not provide the requisite time to truly judge a person's character, but he seemed a genuine, polite gentleman of respectable background. "Has Mr. Stanley been asked to visit the body as well?" asked Mary.
"I can only assume so," said Mr. Withrow. "I do not know why Mr. Booth needs me to look at it. I will not have any time for work before I leave."
Mr. Withrow would be returning to Sussex in only a few days. Mary would stay in London with her sister Elizabeth for the entire duration of the season. The season coincided with the session of Parliament and was an opportunity for those of the upper class, from all over the country, to gather in London and engage in social events. She did not care much about the season itself, but in theory this would give her time to be of true assistance. Yet there was so much more she needed to learn before she would feel confident in her duties as a spy. They turned onto another road and parked in front of a row of shops at the end of a line of carriages.
"Quickly now," said Withrow, opening the door, "but do not draw any attention to us."
How easily he stepped into the position of leadership. His aunt, Lady Trafford, carried herself with the same sense of authority. Mr. Stanley approached, his hand extended.
"May I?"